The following is the 668th Arizona Racing Commission meeting taking place at 1110 West Washington, Suite 250, Phoenix, Arizona 85007 on Thursday, March 13th, 2019.
All right, good morning. Do apologize that we do not have chairs for everyone, but it's good to see everyone here. If we could get the door there in the back closed, or is there people out there that are listening? At this point in time, we'll call the meeting to order, the 668th regular Arizona Racing Commission meeting today, March 14, 2019. We'll start off with the roll call.
Thank you. Time is 10:03 a.m. Commissioner Coolidge?
Here.
Commissioner Garay?
Here.
Commissioner Lawless?
Here.
Commissioner McClintock?
Here.
Thank you. And please, good morning, everybody. As a public service, please silence or turn all cell phones off. If you must take a call, please be courteous to those around you and take the conversation out into the hall. Thank you. It's all yours, Commissioner.
All right, thank you. Item B, Executive Session 1. We do not need to do that. There is no update, so our council has already departed. I do have a couple of items. Would like to change up a little bit on the order. Would like to go with first. Do you want to do the express bet and all that first? We're going to do for C action items, item number 2, and then item number 3, and then jump to item D, information reports, number 3, legislative updates, and then move to action item under C, number 4, and then action item number 1, third, after that, if that made any sense. Yeah, I lost myself as well, but we'll muddle through this. So the first item up for action will be C2, ExpressBet LLC's consideration for ADW permit.
Yes, back in December, ExpressBet filed a renewal permit for their advanced deposit wagering, which again is telephone wagering. That's for the years 2019, 2020, and 21. We've completed the substantive review portion of the review. Gary Alvarado did the report. I think you have it in your packet. Everything looks to be okay at this point in time. ExpressBet is one of the largest advanced deposit wagering companies. Everybody is licensed at this time, so we would recommend approval.
Any discussion?
Have you heard of that?
Sure.
Dave Arthur, Arizona Downs. I just wanted to confirm that ExpressBet is affiliated with Monarch, which is currently in a boycott situation for Arizona Downs. I'm not up here to object to the permit. I think it's good for racing to have a competent ADW in Arizona, and from all indications, ExpressBet is a competent ADW provider. However, I just wanted to point out that we're going to be faced with a question here in a couple of minutes, or maybe a half hour, whenever it is, about regulating an out-of-state corporation, Monarch, with respect to their signal. And that's exactly what you're doing here for ExpressBet. So to the extent there's been any question or any discussion about the power or the authority for you folks to regulate an out-of-state company, to review their contracts, to review their people, to review what they're doing in Arizona, I think obviously this ExpressBet application pretty much answers that question. So, as I've said, we on behalf of Arizona Downs are not going to object to ExpressBet, even though, notwithstanding the way they're treating Arizona Downs on their sister companies, but I do want to point out that the issue is exactly the same. That will be coming up with you in a few minutes. Thank you.
I move we approve ExpressBet's advanced deposit wagering permit for the years 2019, 20, and 21.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Commissioner Coolidge?
No.
Commissioner Garay,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless,
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Where's my agenda? The next item will be number 3, Arizona Downs request approval of the following off-track betting facility, Arizona American Italian Club, 7509 North 12th Street, Phoenix, Arizona, 85020.
Yes, Arizona Downs submitted this application about 4 or 5 weeks ago. It is at the Arizona American Italian Club. It's a private club on 12th Street. We've done the background investigation. Both the manager and the owners of the facility are licensed, so they are good to go.
Is there any discussion? Is there anyone signed up for this? Or do we? This was,
3. There are a couple people on there.
yeah, no C3. Or no C3? Yep. Okay. Mike Chambers, did you want to speak on this?
What's that? I didn't hear you back
Did Mike Chambers want to speak on this item?
there. What item?
C3, the Arizona Downs request approval of the following off-track betting facility. Okay. Christine? Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to,
Oh, please state your name
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
who you represent.
my name is Kristen Boyce. I'm a member of the HBPA. I wanted to take a moment and say that I support this. I think this provides an opportunity to raise purse revenue for Arizona Downs. An OTB at the American Italian Club would further this and assist in the goal of year-round racing in Arizona.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it Valerie Valone or Lund? Going once? There she is.
Please state your name for the
My
record.
name is Valerie Lund. I'm a licensed horse trainer, have been for 35 years. I'm also a trainer director member of the HBPA. And I also support this. We need year-round racing in Arizona desperately. Where there are states that have year-round racing, racing thrives, and where we don't have year-round racing, it doesn't thrive. So I certainly support this, and we support what Arizona Downs is doing and bringing to the state.
Thank you. I believe that was everyone who signed up for this item. So any discussion?
No, I move we approve the Arizona American Italian Club as an off-track betting site for Arizona Downs.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? And I wasn't nay, I just said.
Okay, roll call. Commissioner Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Garay,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless,
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Okay. I think the next item we wanted to go to was drop down to D, information reports, the legislative update.
Good morning, everybody. For the record, Aiden Fleming with the Arizona Department of Gaming. We are on day 60 of the legislative session. We have 1,289 bills dropped. Of those, 2 racing bills are still going. The first bill is HB 2576. It's sponsored by Representative Cook, and the bill advanced to the Natural Resources and Energy Committee last night in the Senate. The bill essentially allocates 1% of the handle, the in-state racing handle, to the Arizona Thoroughbreds Association for distribution for Arizona bred horses that finish first, second, or third. Essentially what this would do would be about a $1 to $1.5 million increase to the Breeders' Awards. So that bill is making its way through the legislative session, and it's going through unopposed so far. Any questions on that particular piece?
I was wondering, would it be helpful on that bill, although I know it's not been opposed yet by anyone, that if we were to, if everyone was in agreement to write a letter in support of that, because I think that bill will do wonders for our racing community here and bring back a much needed breeding program.
Mr. Chair, that's always an option, obviously, for the commission to support a piece of legislation. If they want to put together a letter and direct staff to do that on their behalf, we'd be happy to do so.
Sir, do we need to make a motion to this?
Well, technically, you cannot make a motion.
Yeah.
You can direct them,
Yeah.
though, as far as in
Do we have
asking
agreement
them
to maybe direct staff to do this on this item? Yes.
All right, jumping to the second bill still moving through the legislature, SB 1144. This is the racetrack ejection exclusion process. This is sponsored by Senator David Farnsworth. The bill received unanimous passage through the Senate and is awaiting a hearing in the House Land and Agricultural Committee. Essentially, the bill does two things. The first thing, it sets forth a process that the stewards, the director, and the commission make the determination for the ejections of a licensee from a racetrack enclosure. The second thing it does is it directs the commission to adopt rules that include due process and appeal rights for that process. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I was just curious, on that bill, the track still maintains the right, or the permittee still maintains the right if there's a drunken, somebody there betting, or there's somebody raped somebody on the backside, there's still immediate action that can be taken.
Mr. Chair, yes. The way the bill is written is it's kind of in a graduated scale. So if there's an immediate issue, it would go for an ejection to the stewards who are there at the track at the moment that can make a ruling that says that person needs to go. The second step is it would go to the director, and the director could basically continue that if they decided that this is a more serious issue, that it wasn't just a small thing that the person can come back once they sober up or whatever. But if it needs to continue, the director can then push that to the commission for a full vote. So if you look at it in that graduated scale, temporary, get the person get them out of the enclosure for the steward. Intermittent would be the director basically stating that yes, this person needs to stay away from the track longer, and then it would automatically be pushed to the commission for a full vote. That's that first piece. That second piece would dictate how, after that vote, would the person have that appeal, and similar on those other licensing types that have a similar appeal.
Mr. Chairman, can I address that issue?
You might want to speak into the microphone.
Regarding this matter, this bill is related to licensees, not just a general patron. Okay, so I'm not sure if your question was related to a patron that's causing some kind of disturbance or crime, or if it was related to a licensee, but there is a difference.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have a patron all of a sudden thinking they could come before us to get out of their trouble, and that also if there was a serious issue on the backside, that they're immediately out of there, not, granted to be back there while waiting, going through the appeal process.
Yes, so with the general patron, it would be the permittee's right to exclude somebody based on property ownership. But regarding this House bill, it's related solely to a licensed person.
Would there be any thoughts of doing the same on this bill? Support from the committee and the commission? Yeah, we'll do the same on this one as well. Support from us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
How much longer until they're out of session?
I'll go to consult the crystal ball. Sine die is on the 100th day.
Okay.
However, when budget starts, we don't really know. You can take some bets.
No,
We'd have to regulate you.
That's right. Yeah, you're coming to the right place, though, for that. Make sure it's all in the up and up.
All right. Now, I think we go back up to action items and go to number 4, proposed rule change of AAC R19-2-14K. And did we need to set, because we were going to have discussion from the attorneys, we need to set some rules.
That's pretty much up to you guys as far as in how you would like to handle that. Give them a certain amount of time to address you and
which one
reserve
goes
time. And yes, exactly. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we have Mr. Fleming come back up and address the Demena bill that was proposed to the legislature before you move forward?
That's right. That's why I wanted him up here before this. Did he leave? Can you call him and bring him?
Norma, would you please grab him?
Leave it to Horseman, guys.
Yeah, well. Hey, man, can you turn the volume up? No one is back in here.
we're trying to address that. There are people standing in front of the speaker, and plus, if we turn it up too loud, you will get a lot of feedback, and it'll blast everybody's ears. There's your feedback.
Is he on his way? Trying to clean that. She's running.
Norma will get it.
There he is.
I'm back, Mr. Chair.
I have one more bill that we wanted to hear about.
State your name again on the record.
For the record, Aiden Fleming with the Arizona Department of Gaming.
What's the name of it?
I can guess. Is it 1158?
Demena.
Yes, the bill went before the committee. It was determined that it would be discussion only, so the committee heard presentations. They did not take a vote. The bill was held. The chairman gave direction at the end, basically saying that the parties need to come together to work out some of these issues, and that it could potentially have basically come back as a striker if some of those issues were worked out. It could be put into one of the bills going through still. So that's what the chairman stated at the end. I don't know if there's any appetite for that, but that was a potential solution he offered.
This is the bill kind of deals with the monarch or type of, or all of them that.
Correct. If the bill, if I can recall correctly, it does the three things. It addresses three issues. It addresses the monarch issue that has been discussed in this committee and that Arizona Downs has brought up. The second issue is it discusses for Rito, it discusses race days, and it talks about, so it had race days, and I think it referenced a dome in there, extension. And then the third thing is it would eliminate the commission, obviously. That's the big third piece that we would be concerned with. But as far as, I'm not aware of those meetings being held to see if that bill will move forward, but some of the other representatives are here that maybe will speak to that later on.
But we need our 27th one. So it sounds like the advice from down there was kind of try to work this out, and if we can.
Mr. Chair, yes, the chairman of the committee did state that he would like that to happen, and some of this could be worked out and then be worked into a bill still making its way through the process if it requires legislative action. And it sounded like talk first and then make the decision.
All right, appreciate that. Any questions for him? Was there any others we needed to hear? Okay. All right.
We won't chase you down.
Sorry about that. I'll stay in the room just in case.
No, you're free to go back to your queue. Just whatever. All right, now we will move to, and everyone back there hear me?
Very good.
Thank you. Move back to, which item was it we were going to?
C4.
Yeah, C4. And I think before we start that, we needed to set, I would like to limit the attorneys, and I think we have 3 that will be given presentation today, or
Yes, sir.
3 to 10 minutes each. And in that 10 minutes, they would need to reserve time for any rebuttal, or do we give them time for rebuttals? That I'm open.
Again, that's up to you.
I'm open for 5 minutes for rebuttal. 5 minutes for rebuttal in addition to the 10.
That's fine. We can,
All right.
we can run the
Do
clocks.
that. So then, who are we starting with on this item?
Let's start with me. He didn't have anything to say. He didn't file. Excuse me, Buzz. I just want to introduce our council. Dave Arthur for Arizona Downs. Despite the brilliance of my arguments before, I'm 0 for 3 in convincing you. So we brought in Doug McSwain's an attorney, a horse attorney from Lexington, Kentucky. He drafted the brief. We presented you with his application pro hoc vice, which just means it allows an out-of-state attorney to appear before a body in Arizona. So I don't know who you want to go first, but I just want to introduce Doug McSwain to the group. Thank you.
And then we also are going to have.
Don't take that out of my 10 minutes, okay?
Yeah. I already did. And then we also have a lawyer for the HBPA that's also going to be speaking today.
Mr. Napier,
Yes.
Okay.
please.
So who do we want to let Buzz go first?
He's standing.
He's
Yeah,
standing.
Buzz, yeah.
Mr. Alston.
Buzz Alston,
You running?
representing Turf, Director and Commission Chair and members of the Commission. There are a number of things that I want to say preliminarily, and then we'll talk about some specific issues, and that is that there is Turf Paradise has no disagreement with the fact that we really need year-round racing in Arizona. It's a hardship on these horsemen to have to go out of the state to race in the summertime. I've been told that it costs $1 a mile to transport a horse to somewhere out of state, and we really want to support. We really want to support year-round racing in Arizona. One of the things that you have to understand about that, however, is that when you start talking about how you deal with such things as the OTBs and the fees that are paid for the OTBs and the operation of the signals that they buy and sell, one size does not fit all. There are many considerations that go into. So the part of the bill that you're talking about that says they want an order that if Monarchs, in essence, if Monarch sells to one, they have to sell to all at the same price. That doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Now, I liken the relationship between the breeders, the horsemen, and the Turf Paradise is kind of like a three-legged stool. All 3 legs have to be there for the stool to function. And that's the same way here. If the horsemen aren't doing well, the industry's not going to do well. If the turf's not doing well, so on and so forth. I think you get the picture. There are more than 2,000 families in Arizona who depend for their livelihood on horse racing in the state. More than 2,000. And so if we take any step that's going to destroy or damage that, we're going to be doing irreparable harm to a lot of people. So we've got to figure out a way to see to it that we have year-round racing in Arizona, and see to it that we all work together and not an adversarial relationship. Now, I've given you, everybody should have a copy of the executive order from Governor Ducey relative to passing new rules. I am not here to instruct you on legal issues. You've got counsel that can do that and do a very good job of it. But I would suggest to you that you talk with your counsel about, on the second page of this executive order, paragraph number 1 and paragraph number 2. I would suggest that you read those carefully and get legal counsel on it. But in essence, what it's saying is that an agency like yours should not conduct any rulemaking, whether informal or formal, without the prior written approval of the office of the governor. And 2 says you should not publicize any directives, policy statements, documents, websites unless explicitly authorized by the state of Arizona. My point to you is that you need to make sure that you have the consent of the governor's office before you go down the path of voting on and trying to enact an order. Take a look at that and rely on your own legal counsel for the reading of it. As you're well aware from the briefings that you've had and so on, this commission does not have the authority to pass a rule that would order Monarch to do business with anybody Monarch doesn't want to do business with. So what Arizona Downs has suggested that you do is that you pass a rule that says that if Monarch sells signals to one, they must sell them to all and at the same cost. Well, in addition to the obvious problems with that, the other problem with it is it's going to impact racing throughout the nation. Everybody will be subject to that same rule if you pass a rule like that. In terms of the relationship between Monarch and Arizona Downs, that's a problem that Turf Paradise is not a part of in any way. In any way, we've never weighed in with Monarch and asked them to do, as if we could, and asked them to do anything that they don't want to do or we want to do. We've never done that. That's a problem that Arizona Downs has to work out with Monarch. Now, Turf has asked members of the commission, I think the director, to reach out to Mr. Drury at Monarch and find out if there's something that we can do industry-wide in Arizona to satisfy Monarch that's okay for them to do business with Arizona Downs. But Arizona Downs has to be a part of that too. They have to convince the Monarch that the things that got them in trouble with Monarch are in the past, and they're not going to do that anymore. And they're going to be a good customer. But they've got to work on that with Monarch, and that's something we support year-round racing. If we do not have any problem with Monarch doing business with Arizona Downs, we just don't want to get Turf and Turf's the Turf family, so to speak, in trouble because Arizona Downs is unable or unwilling to work out their problems with Monarch. There's another issue that we're dealing with now, and it's on this issue of everybody working together. Turf has no objection to having OTBs, Ryuto having OTBs, Arizona Downs having OTBs. But one of the things we have to do is and I think there's going to be a meeting coming up pretty soon to talk about this. We have to come up with some kind of regulation and scheme of things so that we know that we can control the location of the OTBs and not run into competition with one another by virtue of locations. As an example, you just approved today an OTB for Arizona Downs. We didn't object to it. We had no objection to it, but you approved that today. That OTB that you approved today is 7/10 of a mile from a Turf Paradise OTB. 7/10 of a mile. That's a shorter distance than one lap around the Turf Paradise racetrack. 7/10 of a mile. And that's I don't know if it's going to be bad or not going to be bad. All I'm saying is, history has demonstrated throughout the country that if you have two OTBs located too close together, neither does well. Neither does well. So, and that, you approved it, and we didn't object, you approved it. But we have to have some rules and regulations so we all know how we're going to be handling these OTBs. The other issue that I wanted to touch on today is this, and that's why I'm giving you all copies of the agreement between Turf Paradise and the HPPA. You should have copies of that in front of you. And specifically, when we get to it, I'm going to be referencing page 7, item 5A on page 7. What has happened is that we have been informed that the HPPA has announced, I don't know if it announced or mentioned that, but has announced that on March 20th or something like that, so in March, this month, in a week or so from today, that they are going to withdraw their consent. What?
1 minute.
1 minute. They're going to withdraw their consent to send it for Turf to get the signals from Monarch. I refer that section of the agreement to you, and I will tell you that the HPPA does not have the legal right to do that. We have a contract guaranteeing us the right to get those signals until 2021. And any effort on their part to withdraw that consent, you need to tell them no. If you don't, you're going to get them sued. You need to tell them no.
You ready?
You're ready if you're ready.
We're ready. And when you see me going like this, that means you got 1 minute.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I'm Doug McSwain, as my co-counsel has introduced me. I'll give you just a 5-second brief as to my familiarity with this area of the law. I have been dealing with horse racing issues in my legal practice for the better part of 30 years. Litigated 2 of the principal cases that exist on record, having come to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is the Court of Appeals that sits in Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Michigan. And I'm very familiar with this law. First and foremost, and it doesn't sound like from the Turf Paradise brief that there's any dispute that you have the clear-cut authority. When I listened to your minutes of the meeting from the last month in February, it appeared that there was some question as to the authority of this commission to pass a regulation such as before you. And I wanted to dispel any notion that there is any incapability to do that. You certainly have the power under the Interstate Horse Racing Act to pass a regulation as is before you. Indeed, you could do an equal access rule even without a regulation. You could do it by virtue of the way that you grant consent to any of your OTB facilities or racetracks to receive signals coming in from out of state. And the reason that you've got that power is that the Interstate Horse Racing Act says in the congressional policy and intent provisions that states are the primary regulators of all things pertaining to gambling within their own borders. You decide. This is not a question of the power that you have to regulate an out-of-state entity. You're already doing that. As was mentioned by my co-counsel, Dave Arthur, you just did it this morning when you granted ExpressBet its ADW license. You're already regulating entities out of state because they're bringing signals into this state. This isn't an issue of regulating out-of-state entities. This is an issue of regulating in-state wagering and regulating that in-state wagering market. And what we have here is a situation where the market is being boycotted by Monarch. Monarch controls a number of racetracks' signals. It has that control through exclusivity licensing agreements that it enters into, giving it the sole power to decide where and when and under what circumstances it will go into a state with its signal. It leverages that power in a way that becomes, in some markets, anti-competitive. not always. In other places, the competing tracks like that go through NYRA or those that go through Twin Spires, which is the Churchill Downs integrated entity, vertically integrated entity, they have got the ability to carry a certain amount of market power in other markets. But clearly within the Arizona market, being as close as it is to California and the significance of the Del Mar and Santa Anita signals and the northern Golden Gate, the California tracks being part and parcel of that package make for a significant market control. You will not be the only state that has rules similar to what has been proposed here. We've put forth in our brief other states that have done it. I like to divide the market up in my mind with net import states and net export states. My home state, Kentucky, is a net export state. We got some significant racing, otherwise not as populated state as you've got here in Arizona. But we export a lot of racing. We import a lot too, but we export a lot. Ohio, Idaho, Mississippi, Florida less so, and I'll deal with Florida in just a minute. But Idaho, Mississippi, and these states are net import states. Ohio, for purposes of getting thoroughbred signals, is a net import state because it is more weighted toward harness racing. If you know anything about racing, I'm trying to help you to understand it. This is the way the market works. The states that are net import states need rules sometimes to deal with large exporters of signals. Monarch is amalgamated, I should say, not aggravated, amalgamated a lot of strength, bargaining strength, through a number of signals. And Idaho, I think, has got a very interesting statute on point that says we will not tolerate any anti-competitive practices in this state that results in contracting of rates coming into our signals coming into our state at rates that are unfair, or market unfair and unreasonable. Ohio has a statute that says exactly what this rule would do. They have to come in at the same rate. So all of these provisions are perfectly lawful because the Interstate Horse Racing Act gives to you, as the State Racing Commission, in a net import situation, you are the off-track racing commission under the Interstate Horse Racing Act, and you have a power of consent. If you sat and did nothing, literally did no action whatsoever when others are asking you, can we bring a signal into Arizona? And you said, we're not going to act on it this month. If you refuse to act on a petition to have the approval of a signal to come into OTVs, that signal could not, under federal law, come into the state because your consent is absolutely required under the Interstate Horse Racing Act. Federal law gives you the power. State law does the same thing. And interestingly enough, to the point that was brought up by my good counsel for Turf Paradise, the horsemen also have a right of consent under your state administrative code. It's been given to them. But regardless of whether the horsemen do or don't want to exercise that particular consent right that they've got, you always have that consent right, and you have it stated in your own code as exactly what it is you expect before you're going to approve any petitions for signals coming into the state or leaving the state. That's what your state law provides. Your state law also provides that you have to also approve the ADWs, as you know, and that you've already done that this morning. There's no question that you have the power to do this regulation, both under federal law and state law. And indeed, if you don't act under federal law steps in and bars the activity altogether. You can't even participate in being a net import state if you don't affirmatively take action. You can't sit silent. You have to approve. For that reason, I want to kind of hit at the governor's moratorium. Because there are several reasons why the governor's moratorium on rulemaking doesn't speak to this issue. Turf Paradise has argued to you that it should bar it. But I direct your attention to exactly what the moratorium order says. It says, a state agency subject to this order shall not conduct any rulemaking, whether informal or formal, without the prior approval of the office of the governor. You'll have to seek that approval. under his order. I get you that. You need to start the process to get that going. We submit to you that should be done. It says, in seeking approval, second sentence, a state agency shall address one or more of the following as justifications for the rulemaking. We supplied in our brief an argument to you that paragraph 1H gives you that. It says, to promulgate a rule or order or other item that is exempt from Title 41, Chapter 6, Arizona Revised Statutes pursuant to 41-1005. Now, we briefed for you in our brief why it is that your rulemaking power when it comes to simulcasting, importing simulcasts, or exporting simulcasts are thoroughly subject to your rulemaking authority, and that it is an exempt rulemaking authority under your Arizona Administrative Procedures Act. The first thing that 41-1005 subsection A-16 says is that any regulations having to do with Section 5-111A, which is your simulcast and wagering statute, anything having to do with that is exempt from the Administrative Procedures Act. You are already exempt, and indeed your own current, your current regulations that govern all aspects of simulcasting have all been promulgated under this exemption without going through the Administrative Procedure Act. Likewise, you are subject to the same exemption under this administrative moratorium. The thing I wanted to add to it, which was not in our brief, but I want to say it in part because of the way the discussions happened here, to comply with a federal statutory or regulatory requirement if such compliance is related to a condition for the receipt of federal funds, which this would not be, or participation in any federal program. If you want to participate in the import of simulcasting from out of state, the only way you can do so is take affirmative action as a body. If you sat silent and did nothing, you would bar signals from coming into the state. So, you have two ways to ask the governor's office to do this, and time is of the essence on this. We've had this application out for a number of months. We would ask you to adopt the regulation. You can easily do it. Thank you.
I think I could be briefer than that. And actually, I don't think you have to sound like you come from Kentucky.
Please state your name on the record,
have
please.
some credentials, and that's what I'm leading up to. Just so you know that I have a history with regard to the industry as well. My name is Mike Napier. I'm privileged and proud to represent the Arizona Horsemen's Benevolent Protective Association, Horsemen in Arizona. We have a lot at stake. This is important to us. This affects our livelihood. This affects how we pay bills, how we take care of our interest in this viable industry that could be so much better if it were year-round. I want to say first about the consent. The horsemen have the right to grant or withdraw or withhold a consent. That's in your own rules. The export from the Arizona or from the Interstate Horse Racing Act and the import pursuant to your own rules. I want to say, too, that this is not the forum to threaten litigation. It's not. Matter of fact, we could get more committed to our current stance with regard to the consents by virtue of that kind of rhetoric. Although I will say that it'd be interesting to see if Buzz and I are still around by the time that litigation gets finished. Because it'll take years. You know how that goes. We do have the right to withhold consents. I signed consents when I was the president of the Arizona Horsemen's HBPA. I honored those consents when I was a member of the commission, your position. And by the way, let me say thank you for your service. I understand. Thank you. that can be perceived as a thankless chore, and you're going to be criticized. That comes with sitting in that chair. And it's no near as much fun as sitting at the OTV and making some bets and keeping your fingers crossed. But it is a serious business. And what we're talking about today is the horsemen are supporting Arizona Downs in receiving the signal from Monarch. And something that hasn't been mentioned up to this point, and it's important. What does the contract between Monarch and Turf Paradise say? Now that's interesting, and it's a public record. Your own rules say that if Turf Paradise enters into a contract with an outside agency, well, that contract has to be filed with the commission. You have it. And I venture to say that Monarch and Turf Paradise have both submitted to your jurisdiction and authority. And not only that, and this may be news to my counterpart, but they've submitted to the consent rights of the horsemen. And we'll defend those even if it involves a courtroom. Well, that's something that you should consider, because what's at question here is whether or not there's equal accessibility to the signal. And this commission has the opportunity and the authority to do something that will have a positive impact on Arizona racing going forward. We have been in a drought. It's been a long time since we've had year-round racing. Your industry has wilted in the meantime. Let's bring it back with some life, with some verve. Let's do it by making sure that Arizona Downs can be fiscally successful. And that has to happen if they have that signal. And when that signal crosses the border, you have the authority and jurisdiction to say how and under what terms. You do it already with the ADWs. You've done it for years. It's the same concept. It's the same authority and jurisdiction. The industry is taking its benefits elsewhere because we don't have year-round racing. The farriers, the vets, the horsemen, the horses, the trainers, the owners, they migrate at great expense. The beneficiary of your act, if you enact this rule that allows Arizona Downs to be a successful endeavor and enterprise to the benefit of the horsemen, the effect of that is going to keep all of that, all the positive benefits of racing in the state of Arizona, and we have a grand history of that right here. And who are the beneficiaries of that? The horsemen, Prescott, more specifically, but Arizona, all of the state, and the breeders. I should mention them as well. Now, this is important to us. You might say, well, we're not directly impacted, or part of that contract that I referred to earlier. But we are the most impacted and affected by this decision. We want to stay home. You should want us to stay home. You should want us to be a viable industry. The year-round, let us go back. Let us have a year-round industry in Arizona that doesn't send everybody elsewhere. It keeps it right here. So we're asking that you approve the rule and you take the jurisdiction that is yours, just as the right to consent or not to consent belongs to us, and will until you change that rule, and will as long as the Horse Racing Act says what it does with regard to the export of the signal. We own that too in terms of control, in terms of consent. That's how it is. We want this to be resolved. We want all the parties to get together, the racetracks, and work this out. We of all are on the sidelines saying, do it for us. Do it for Arizona. Do it for Prescott. The best interest of racing is your mission. The overriding objective of this commission is the best interest of racing, and that is synonymous with the best interest of this state and its economy. This is a viable industry. It can be better, and to be better, it needs year-round. So let's keep it viable. Let's make it stronger. This is probably the best opportunity this commission has had to make this industry stronger that's come your way. Thank you.
One question. Do you agree with Arizona Downs attorney that we need to go to the governor first?
Well, I heard, I think that was Doug McSwain indicated that, and I think that's what that says, and I don't disagree with that. But that can be an expedient process.
Yeah, and I had asked last month, Rudy, if we could do a dual course where we approach the governor. Has that been done?
No, it is not.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Have any of the parties approached the governor? I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody's got lobbyists, and has anyone approached the governor about this?
Well, that would be probably Monarch or Paradise, but we haven't.
So it has to be the department.
Not that I know. Is it premature for us to adopt this rule prior to going to the governor?
No, not at all.
Why?
Well, because you want the governor's approval. I guess I got somebody.
Mike's right about that. You need the governor's approval.
Thank you. That's what I just said. But it's not premature for you to act. That's a condition precedent for the. That's what you need to do. You get the governor to come on board and say, okay. And I expect he will.
So
he knows what's good for Arizona. I'm sure he does.
So we can adopt an order despite paragraphs 1 and 2 prior to writing the governor and seeking approval to do so, is what you're saying.
Let me see if my colleague agrees with that.
Yeah.
Can I defer that question?
I would think that you should be able to adopt it conditional upon going to the governor and seeking his approval. That's what I would think you ought to be able to do. You don't have meetings but monthly, and time is of the essence on moving this process along. The governor's office at the end of the day is going to have to say yay or nay that it fits the criteria. I submit to you that it does, and I submit for the reasons I earlier stated to you is the basis perhaps that you seek that approval to allow you to put it into place. But you probably ought to go on and let that happen by way of approving it, conditioning upon the governor's approval.
Time's up.
Yeah, we don't have the attorney's
Well, do we need to do rebuttals?
Yes.
Okay. And on the rebuttal, you have 5 minutes, and again, I'll give you the little wavy when I see the wavy. Let you know you have 1 minute.
Or I'll just do it.
Or if you see the secretary going like this, that's 1 minute.
Please hold your applause.
It's not for you, Buzz.
Buzz Austin, I took the third Paradise. Two things. You've heard both the gentlemen from Kentucky and Mike talk about passing this rule and doing this rule. That the governor's executive order is very, very clear. The governor, one of the things he pledged when he went in office, there's going to be no new rules or regulations that bypassed by anybody in the state, any commissions or agencies, without the governor's approval. And you read section 1 and 2 that I pointed out to you, and I think you'd be on real thin ice if you drafted a bunch of stuff before going to the governor. I think you need to contact the governor and see if they're going to approve you making a rule. And if they approve you making a rule, then you can make a rule. But you can't do it without the governor's approval. That's number one. Number two, one of the things that we agree 100% with. We need year-round racing in Arizona. The horsemen need it. The breeders need it. Turf Paradise needs it. We all need. We don't disagree about that. We need to work in that direction. But one of the things that you ought to do, if you haven't, you ought to reach out to Monarch and talk to them about what their problem with Arizona Downs is, and see if there's some way we can't work it out. You need to find out. You need to talk to Monarch and find out what the effect of a rule like this would be. The effect of a rule like this could, because Monarch could very well, if you say you got to sell all if you sell one, Monarch would say, we'll choose not selling any. They have that option, and that would be devastating to racing. Finally, I want to point out that Mike was talking about the right to consent. The HBPA contracted and their right to consent away I mean, they sold it to Turf. You look at that page 75A. What happened when the contract was renewed? The HPPA wanted a provision in there that would cause Turf, that would incentivize Turf to get out and really spend the money to open new OTBs, and they did that. And what the agreement says, in essence, and you can read it. But the agreement says, in essence, if you will open 3 new OTBs a year for the next 4 years, and not fall below 50 OTBs in Arizona, you will have earned. That's the language. You will have earned 4 years on this contract. The contract will be extended, so our contract is valid until the end of the race meeting in 2021. They greatly exceeded the 3 a year. And in fact, they had to maintain a minimum of 50. They've got 60 in Arizona, 60 OTBs. That's a real project. They've opened over 100 OTBs since they've been in the business, but it seems like every time you open one, you lose. Somebody goes broke. So that's the kind of thing that you have to be careful about. But they cannot withdraw their consent because they contract. Now, finally, Turf Paradise has been completely in compliance with the agreement with the HPPA. The HPPA has been in complete compliance with the agreement with Turf Paradise. Both of us have honored the agreement and complied with it. And now what they're wanting to do is breach their agreement with us in order to try to force you guys and us, I guess, to do something for Arizona Downs. Arizona Downs is not part of this contract. They have to deal with their problems on their own. We'd love to see it get resolved. We'd love to see racing year-round in Arizona, but it ain't our fault that it's not happening yet. We honor our contracts, they honor theirs. Did I have another minute?
Yeah.
1 minute.
Thank you.
Your Honors, I will not speak to the question of whether there's a breach or not, but I don't know how the germaneness of that has anything to do with what's in front of you. If there's an issue with the HPPA and Turf Paradise under that contract, that's not before you. What's before you today is a proposed rule. What I will reiterate is what I stated a minute ago. All you have to do is look at the governor's moratorium order, and it is clear that you could go ahead and pass the rule today subject to the approval being done and seek that approval. You seek the approval by telling the governor's office the grounds upon which you seek his approval to proceed forward with the rule. The rule needs to be done today because the process itself will crater us with respect to where we are. This issue has been before you with the rule question for the better part of 4 meetings. If this gets put off after a discussion with the governor's office and then you have to come back for another meeting, we're 2 or 3 months on down the road. And at that point, it's going to have been over a half a year that the market has been dominated by an out-of-state entity working its anti-competitive will on this state. Turf Paradise, if it really means what it's stating to this body, should exercise its rights under its contract with its partner, Monarch, and tell Monarch, lay off. We know you don't want to cut this state off. Don't even make those kinds of statements. But I submit to you that even if Monarch did cut the state off, the anti-competitive statement you will have sent from this body that our OTBs are going to compete and compete fairly will do everything toward helping move us forward, even if Monarch cut off. Put yourself in this situation. If you're a retailer and you're selling a product, and your neighbor next door is getting an exclusive to a favorite product, but they're only going to be able to carry it and you can't because you were anti-competitively cut off from that, with or without the assistance of your competitor in stopping you from getting that product. You would be better off in the competitive field carrying what you can carry on the same equal basis as your competitor can carry. This market will be better if you exercise your regulatory control and say, even if you leave the state, Monarch, our state will be what our state will be, and it will not function anti-competitively. If you don't want to be in this state, fine. We've got bettors. The bettors that'll come here will go and bet on other signals. But we can't compete at Arizona Downs as OTBs. When a favored product is denied to us but granted to our competitor. That's why the equal access is absolutely necessary. On pricing, if that's an issue here, same pricing doesn't have to be that word. We can talk about that. This body could talk about that if that needs to be done. Because there are ways to deal with that. Ohio dealt with that with its exact same statute. They dealt with it through a backdoor waiver process, through the certain interested parties. If this body will move forward on the proposed rule and do so now, seeking the governor's approval, there will be an opportunity to discuss tweaking the rule if need be. But if we don't move forward, they will run the clock out. And that's the problem. The marketplace is better without Monarch than lopsidedly. You control that marketplace. Thank you.
Just a few more words. Speaking for the horsemen, the Arizona horsemen.
Could you state your name and all that?
Yes, Mike Napier, attorney for the Arizona Protective Association. Speaking on their behalf, we wholeheartedly agree with comments from Mr. McSwain that you have the authority and should act, as I said earlier, in the best interest of racing in Arizona and the families, the people who depend on that industry for their living and for survival. Now, about the consent, that is an ancillary issue to this. Whatever that situation is, it's not core to what you have in front of you today. And we're asking, we may have disputes with regard to that, so be it, but we're asking that you adopt this rule and do it forthwith. I agree, the time is of the essence. Lip service is what we're hearing from Turf Paradise. It's easy to say things, but if you listen carefully, you'll hear what is said. It's being contradicted in the next sentence or phrase. Like, we want year-round racing. We want everybody to get along. But gosh, look at these obstacles you have. And here's why you shouldn't do it. Well, you can and should. With regard to the consent, I'll be brief with this aspect of things because I signed the contract. I didn't sign a waiver of consent rights. That provision of the contract hasn't changed. It's there. We have that right. It's by regulation. We have the export right, and that may be something that the contract addresses, but not the import. We've had it. We've exercised it for the last 10 years. If we don't have it, why are you giving us the signature pages to sign? And here's some further news. The contract is up after the last replied race day in May by its own terms. Just read section 1. It's plain language. As a matter of fact, I have a letter I'm going to deliver which says exactly that and ask the commission to examine that issue as well. Thank you.
It's up to you.
Because I promised one every hour.
I know. It's up to you. What? You good? We're good.
We're good. Okay.
Yeah. I'm told there might be a Scott DeRudy from Monarch in the audience.
Who told you that?
We'd love to hear from you since you're the main subject in this dilemma we have.
Has he signed the assignment sheet?
Good morning. My name is Scott DeRudy, and I'm the president of Monarch Content Management. I'm really here as an observer today. I have no formal remarks to present to you. I'd be happy to answer any questions, though, if anybody has them.
Yeah, I do. Would you be willing to sit down with the 3 tracks and try and work out an amicable situation?
Yeah, listen, Monarch is a subsidiary of the Stronach Group. We own tracks across the country, and I don't think there's anybody with a bigger investment in live racing than the Stronach Group. Our goal is to see the industry survive and thrive, not just in the states where we have racetracks, but in every state in the country. We look at issues from our perspective, certainly, to do what is in our best interest, but we also do try to take into consideration industries in other states. In this particular issue, there's been a lot said this morning, and I've listened to all the transcripts from the prior meetings, so there's been a lot said in prior meetings that are just factually untrue. A lot of the comments this morning about Monarch and what we may or may not be doing, or what contracts we may or may not have with Turf Paradise, I can assure you the comments were just completely untrue. It's probably kind of pointless to get into back and forth, other than to say the reason we're not selling our simulcast signals to the Arizona Downs OTB network, okay? And that's an important distinction, because we are selling to Arizona Downs. We have been since pretty much close to their opening. But the reasons we're not selling to their OTB network, quite simply, is because we don't believe it's in our best economic interest to do so. We believe, again, as evidenced this morning, that the opening of one OTB 0.7 of a mile from another OTB to compete head-to-head ultimately is going to undermine them both. We're interested in distribution of our product, and we think the model that is starting to be adopted here in Arizona is not the right model. It's a dangerous model for all involved, because I frankly think it's going to leave you without OTB distribution in the state. So that's my opinion. There's certainly people in this room who are going to disagree with that, but that's my opinion, and I think it's our right as a business to decide what's in our best economic interest. We've been accused this morning of being monopolistic and anti-competitive and all sorts of other big words, but frankly, the rule you all are considering adopting, frankly, takes away our rights to do business as we see fit. And so, whenever somebody's pointing the finger saying anti-competitive, you got to look at the issue from the other side. We believe the Interstate Horse Racing Act gives us the right to sell our signals only to whom we choose to, and so the rule you're considering would either take that right away or inhibit it to the extent that we're not able to distribute our product in Arizona at all. So the last comment I'll make is, look, I've been in the industry a long time, and I've spent a lot of time in jurisdictions across the country, and there's one thing I know about horsemen, and this is a universal truth. They'd rather be outside training their horses than in a conference room listening to the lawyers babbling back and forth with each other. So the fact that all these people are here this morning tells me there is some big issue, some big controversy going on here that I cannot understand and don't necessarily want to understand. So we're sort of stuck in the middle of a battle that's not of our making. We're trying to do right by our business, and obviously we are not supportive of a rule that dictates what we can and cannot do with our product. But ultimately, it's up to Arizona to decide what's right for its industry.
Scott, I have a question. Would you be interested in doing a beta test with the new OTB, sending your signal to the new OTB we approved this morning that's near the Turf Paradise OTB, just to see how that affects the overall handle between the two OTBs? In other words, send your signal to one OTB, and let's see how the handle of Gallagher's, which is the nearest OTB to the Italian American Club, see if they both go up, if it takes business away from Gallagher's. The problem now is we don't have a comparison.
Well, we don't have a comparison in Arizona. We certainly have a comparison in other markets. And again, I totally respect the view that you all are bringing, which is you're looking at Arizona racing and you're trying to do what's right by Arizona and really not looking outside the boundaries of your state. And that's your goal. I understand that. But we sell our product across the country, and in fact across the world. And our experience is that a network of competing networks of OTBs overlapping in the same jurisdiction just don't work. I challenge anybody to come up with a model and to point to a model in the United States where there's a jurisdiction that has overlapping competing OTB networks that are successful. They just don't exist. I've had people in this room, because I've had this discussion privately with many, and they say, oh, well, Illinois is an example. Illinois, Arlington has OTBs in Chicago, and Hawthorne has OTBs in Chicago, but they're not competing. They actually share revenues back and forth, and whoever's the track that's running live is the one who benefits from the handle at both tracks' OTBs. And then when that track closes and the other one opens, it shifts. So it's really not an apples and apples comparison. So I apologize. I know I'm rambling, and you asked a very simple question, but frankly, I'm not prepared as I stand here today to say yes or no to any specific proposal. What I can tell you is I'll continue to work with commissioners on this commission, with staff on this commission, with the horsemen, with everybody to see if there's a resolution.
Thanks.
Scott, I have one note just to tackle onto that. I have some numbers from the Prescott OTBs. So basically, in Prescott, the handle was up by $100,000 in January of 2019 versus 2018. And that was off of a base of $174,000, which is 57%. And Lake Havasu is up in $37,000 from 2019 to 2018, from 47,000. So that's 78%. So just something.
Does that account for the weather differences? Because if you remember, the East Coast in 18 was shut down by a number of storms. Naira was closed. I forget the number of days, but it was almost an unprecedented number of days. So, I mean, when you start to get into this kind of analysis and comparison, you have to be really careful that you're taking all the factors into consideration.
Got it. Well, maybe that's something that the commission puts together on what numbers we're seeing year over year, and then bounce that off. I think that might be helpful for the rest of the commissioners on this. I'd also like to say thank you to Scott. He and I have spent multiple hours over the past month talking through this and looking for any sort of resolve, and I appreciate all the time that you've made for me to talk through this.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Scott. Sorry for flushing you out of the crowd.
That's okay.
Yeah, he wouldn't even come up and sit in a reserved seat. I know at the last meeting, I kind of put Commissioner Coolidge in charge of trying to see if there was some sort of resolution we could come to working with the department. And I was hoping that maybe you had a little update for us.
Yeah. So I'd just like to thank Arizona Downs, Rito, and the Horsemen, and again, Monarch, for taking some time with me for the past month. All of us have spent countless hours trying to put the pieces together on this. I applaud, first and foremost, the Horsemen for showing up today and standing their ground in an effort to resolve the issue that we're talking about. And more importantly, resolve it as quickly as possible, because everyone on this commission knows how important this is to you and your livelihood. I'd also like to applaud the Department of Gaming Director and Mr. Vogt on putting together a meeting that's going to be happening tomorrow with all parties involved to seek a resolution as fast as we can. It's this commission's continued focus to protect racing participants and the wagering public. I move that in the interest of resolving this issue as quickly as possible, the commission table this vote until next month, hoping all parties come to an amicable resolution before the Horsemen resolve their issue. I would implore Turf Paradise to continue to come to the table in good faith to resolve the issues to help Arizona racing as a whole move forward, urging your partners like Monarch and others to resolve issues with other organizations present today. And I also hope Monarch can take a minute to talk to the Arizona Downs and Rito participants today to see if we can move forward there as quickly as possible. That said, if this issue isn't resolved by next meeting, this commission will be watching the proceedings happening up until that, and we'll make sure that we vote next month one way or another on passing a proposed rule and or reaching out to the governor's office for support to pass such a rule.
I'll second the motion and just put everyone on notice that, yeah, I know there's a meeting tomorrow. I expect everyone to be working in good faith to get this resolved. Otherwise, there's a rule coming. And with that, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Roll call.
Commissioner Coolidge?
Yes.
Garay?
Yes.
Lawless?
Yes.
McClintock?
Yes.
Okay, this matter's been tabled till next month.
Now, with that said, I did have a little coffee this morning, so I would like to call for a break. 5-minute break.
Okay, it's 11:17 and we are in recess.
Do a roll call.
Hang on. Okay, this meeting is back in session. The time is 11:34. Commissioner Coolidge?
Here.
Commissioner Garay?
Here.
Commissioner Lawless?
Here.
Commissioner McClintock? Here. Thank you. And as a reminder, please turn off your phones or silence them. And if you have any calls that you need to take, please take it out in the hallway to not disrupt everybody around you. Thank you.
All right. We had a number of people sign up for item C4. I was just talking to the horsemen, and we've agreed instead of having, I think there was over 12 people signed up, we'll just have 2 speak. And if you could just kind of keep it under 2 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, before we get to that on the past topic, I wonder if what we'd like to do, Arizona Downs, is volunteer to put together a letter to the governor that indicates what you're considering with respect to the rule, so that can get taken care of simultaneously while we're in a holding mode. If that's okay with you, present it to you. You can read it, see if it makes sense, and we can get started on that. It appears that if we don't do that and we're unable to resolve this issue and we meet again, then the next question is going to be, how are we going to tell the governor what we're up to? So is that all right with you folks if we set out and doing that?
Well, I know myself right now, I would prefer to direct the division to talk to the AG's office and see if they could possibly give us a brief on this issue. I think that's something that is missing from all this, is an actual brief from the AG.
That indicates what? That tells you how we approach the governor, you mean?
Or he just gives us the AG's legal briefing on it. You know, we've heard from three sides right now, but we have not heard from the state's attorney general regarding that issue.
Mr. Chair, I can speak to that a little bit. The moratorium is for the agencies, obviously, to conduct that rulemaking. The letter asking permission should come from the agency to spin that up again. Obviously, your direction, if that's something that this body wants to do. But the letter, traditionally, I've never seen a moratorium letter come from anything outside a state agency as far as that's concerned. I think we would be happy to receive any documents that they have that they could shed some light, but I believe as a matter of course and process, those should come from the department.
Well, I had asked for that last meeting, and that we draft a letter and do a dual. Can I assume you'll do that?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, I will absolutely put that together and have it for you very quickly.
Thank you.
And how long do you think it would take to ask the AG for a brief?
Should be able to get an answer fairly quickly. I don't know how quickly the brief would be, but the answer, whether they'll do it or not.
I don't want any boxes on my front porch.
Yeah, I get that.
All right, was there any further? And with that, now for the item C4, the people that had signed up to speak, I said there was like over 12 on there. So we talked and agreed to have 2 representatives for the horsemen come up and speak on this.
Bob Hutton, President of HPPA. First, I wanted to thank Buzz. It only took him 9.5 minutes to threaten to sue me, but he's not here. So I want to make a few points. Obviously, as far as racetracks are concerned, we have to look at it. How many people are opening new racetracks in this country? Not many. These gentlemen have stepped up and want to make racing year-round in Arizona. I think that says a lot for these people. The second thing is when we talk about OTBs, everybody kind of goes to their own bar. right? They hang out their own place, they're comfortable with it. By not having more OTBs, or especially in a area like Phoenix, where it's so condensed, the population, we're not exposing a lot of new customers to the game, and that hurts us. The third thing I wanted to say was, Mr. DeRudy, I give him kudos for coming here. This is not easy to sit here and approach everybody and come up here and speak. And I've talked to him. He's a true gentleman. He believes in what he's saying, and I've talked to him on the phone. He's a good guy. I just want to say that. But he brought up 2 points. Okay, one point is, look how many people are here that are horsemen today, that are supporting Arizona Downs as far as being able to open up OTBs with competitive products in the same markets. It says a lot as far as these people, because they have a lot of other things they could be doing right now, but they decided to come down here today, and a picture paints 1,000 words. And this says it all as far as I'm concerned. And I know for a fact that we could march the 12 or 15 or 20 people up here, and they would all say that they support Arizona Downs endeavors to go ahead and create year-round racing and more revenue so we can get better purses in this state. Thank you.
Were you sending up one more, or was that it?
Kevin was going to come up. Yep.
Okay, there he is. I didn't see him with his. You were hiding.
Yeah, I tried to. Hi, I'm Kevin Mickelberg. I'm an owner, a trainer, past president of the HPBA. Try to do a little bit of it all, to be honest with you. The problem is, I was talking to Scott a minute ago, and he kind of felt like it was against Turf Paradise. We are not. We have to have Turf Paradise to survive. We have to have Arizona Downs to survive. If we had the Monarch signal with both racetracks, that would be ideal. If we don't, we don't. Neither one should be. There should be a monopoly on one and not the other. Right now, racing in Arizona is on life support, guys. I mean, we're in serious, serious trouble. We went from Turf Paradise to having about 13 million to about 9 million purses. At that time, Arizona Downs was still running. They shared the OTB system. Arizona had it during their meet. Yavapai had it during their meet. We don't have Yavapai anymore. Turf Paradise didn't want to share the OTB system anymore. That's the reason we have 2 OTB systems. If we're going to survive here, we're going to have to survive. If not, let's pull the plug. We're on life support. We all can go somewhere else, take our horses. We don't want that to happen. We want to make this work. So without you guys' help and keep delaying it, we're not going to make this work. We're about a month away from Turf Paradise being over, a little longer than that. We all want to be here, but we really realize without that signal going to the OTBs and only Turf Paradise having it, we'll be in trouble. You may have any questions? I guess you really can't answer real quick. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I've heard that time is of the essence, and I kind of think the same thing. So I'd like Cassie to look in to see, once we get a brief, which I hope is fairly quickly, and a letter out fairly quickly, if we could have a special meeting sometime in the next few weeks regarding this issue, because all these people need an answer. Thank you, sir.
I want to thank all of you for showing up. It's great to see the support for the industry. And I can't thank all of you enough for taking time out of your day to show up and come down here and show your support for Arizona horse racing.
Could I say one thing? I know it's a list. It'd be quick.
I'll let you.
Quick.
State your name.
I am Stacy Campo. A lot of people already know who I am. I'm involved with racing. One thing is about the breed program that's coming up that we are trying to get. The money that's going to go in for breeding here, the reason why we bring our horses here, we also raise them here. With them being born here and year-round racing again, my family and I, this is what we do for a living. We own a farm in Waddell, Arizona, along with other people that have farms here too. We breed to race. We don't even sell our horses. We breed to run here in Arizona. So with us being able to sit there and produce product, it's really hard on us to try to get breed money that we only get to run 6 months out of the year. The rest of the year we have to sit and wait for our checks to come in. For our horses that do get bred, who do run at this track, if we have year-round racing, the breed money is going to be year-round for our family. It's money that's coming into us. So with the track opening up there, it's not just, you know, we've got Turf Paradise, but now we have a chance of making money year-round and producing product for the state. I mean, that bill that's going through is going to be huge for people like Fleming's and AAA Farms and our little farm in Waddell. I mean, these people spend so much time and effort. You guys have no clue on the money we're spending to produce product here in Arizona. It's not just a run at Turf Paradise, which we do year after year. We're here year after year. We love Turf Paradise. It's our home. It's our home base. But the problem is, after turf ends, our state money that we don't get any breed money until it opens up again. So we kind of need this year-round racing for the people that are here year-round, that stay here year-round to produce a product. And we got some pretty damn good horses in Arizona that go pretty far. A lot of our horses have to ship out, which we don't want to ship them out anymore to California, to Iowa, to, you know, Minnesota. And we don't get any money every time our Arizona bred runs in another state. We need to stay here. So I'm sorry I got to kind of jump in, but I do have to let you guys know, it's not just year-round racing, it's breed that's, you know, producing that we can actually get paid and pay for more horses to come here. Thank you.
You have to sign up with this over there. Oh, no, that's okay. It's got me put it aside so I can remember not to take it off.
Thank you.
All right, now the next, which item are we up to now?
Are we going?
Yeah, the turtle. Item C1, TP Racing LLP, consideration of final 3-year commercial permit renewal for 2019, 2020, 2021. And I do just want to state that I have received a phone call, and I do know we have an email just requesting that we table this item for a week or two until a couple items could be addressed, and I would agree to do that. And as soon as the one item is taken care of, we will call for a special meeting and then take care of this item so we can get it taken care of. And if anyone has any objections to that,
I'll second that.
all those in favor can say aye.
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 Okay, Commissioner Coolidge?
Yes.
Commissioner Garay?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless?
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock?
Yes.
Okay, this matter is tabled, and if I'm able to secure for the special meeting sooner, you want this on the agenda at that time as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was the question. Once I hear, how long do you need to put this on a special agenda?
Well,
is it just 24 hours?
No. The fact that this is on a permit issue, it requires a 15-day notice of hearing to be sent out. So
I will get with you later this evening and see if we can just go ahead and put it out for 2 weeks out from now, or 15 days out, because I think by then it would be open.
Okay.
All right. Off to item D, information reports. We'll start off with the safety report. First, I do want to just state I've been very, very happy with what Vince, what you have been doing down there at Turf, and Greg, all the work you have been putting in. I know anytime I've given a call in the last couple of weeks, you guys have done a bang-up job, and I appreciate the work all of you have done.
Regarding the Turf Paradise Safety Report, with all the rains, there is beginning to see increased potholes, and we talk about this almost every month, but they're becoming an issue, especially in Cairo. They're getting pretty big, so they need to be taken care of. Also, we'd like to see more sweeping of the streets, of the debris on there. There are certain barn rows that accumulates the hay and all the debris. The weeds will start to become a problem. We've noticed they're a little bit growing pretty rapidly now with all the rain and the sunshine. They're going to become a problem within the next week to 2 weeks, so we need to have those taken care of. We also noticed the drainage ditch on the west side of the property. It's where the main water flows out. That'll need to be cleaned out in the next couple of weeks. Other than that, it's just routine maintenance. It's getting to the end of the season, and we need to take care of some of the stuff. We asked for this last year for all the committees to kind of give us an update during the summer on the projects they're going to be doing. That would include Riedo, which is the next segment here. Riedo has been no stranger to the rain either. I tweeted out a picture a couple weeks ago of the mountains, snow covered. It was a very beautiful setting for Riedo. However, the backside has been taking a big hit with rain and debris. It's not as big as Turf Paradise, but there is an issue with drainage back there. So we do need to see Riedo work with the county on working to get some of those things handled. Track has been, both tracks at both racetracks have been good. So it's going to be general cleanup and general maintenance at this point in time.
With regards to the potholes, especially the K-roll, I think when we do have the special meeting to approve the permit for Turf Paradise, I think we'll have some good news for everyone on that. Is there any questions or comments for Greg on this? Okay. We'll move on to item 2, the budget report.
Budget is on track right now. However, I have Aidan Fleming here to give a little further update on our budget regarding Arizona Downs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Aidan Fleming again with the Department of Gaming. I just want to give a brief update. With live summer racing coming on board with Arizona Downs, the department did request an increase of appropriation for our budget of $252,000. That is to cover the personnel. Instead of getting 2 units to cover Yavapai County and Maricopa County, and the staggering of the race meets, we saw potential for savings there. So what it is once turf is done, we'll move our staff actually up, and they'll conduct live racing over the summer. So now we have staff working that year-round schedule that has been talked about today. With that, of course, there's going to be travel costs, things like that. So it did increase a little cushion in our budget. No new money is requested, just the authority to spend it. We just asked for a credit card bump increase. So it's essentially, that's what's before the governor's office in this upcoming budget. I just wanted to give you that brief update.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? Well, we already did the legislative update, so now we'll do the permittee reports, and if we could try to keep it under 3 minutes, that'd be greatly appreciated. So we'll start with American Greyhound Racing.
Nothing to report, Commissioner.
Thank you. Arizona Downs. Did they leave? Oh, there she is.
Did I run everybody out?
No, they're heading up to your track to get ready for the opening.
Oh, I figured, let them go. Ann McGovern, General Manager at Arizona Downs. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Before I get into my report, I just did want to clarify something that I heard earlier regarding the opening of our new OTB at the Italian Club. First of all, thank you for passing that particular location. But it is a private club. It is a little bit different than most of our OTBs, or than our OTBs and most of Turf Paradise's OTBs, in that it's a private club, members only. So the amount of competition involved there, I think, is very minimal. And that 0.7 of a mile distance between them probably shouldn't be considered as concerning as it might be for others if it was not a private club. So I just wanted to clarify that for you folks. In the last meeting, I told you that we had hired 2 key positions. One of those is our mutual and money manager, Kim Pomposelli. I want to introduce her today. She's sitting right here. And if you have any questions, I know she'd be happy to answer them. And I am thrilled to have her on our team. She's got over 25 years of experience in mutuals. And she's really only 30. She started when she was very young. We also hired Randy Berman as our racing secretary. And with Turf Paradise's permission, he will be at Turf Paradise on Sunday and Monday visiting with horsemen. And he wanted me to relay to you that if you are available to meet with him, he would be happy to do so if you have any questions for him. In the last month, we've hired 2 more key positions. One is Liz Myers, our Director of Marketing and Sales. She has run her own successful public relations company and has most recently been working with a marketing company named Santee in the Phoenix area. And her experience in Phoenix is going to be very helpful for us in our efforts to educate the folks in Phoenix about racing in the cool atmosphere of Prescott Valley. And I'm very excited to have her on the team. And we've also hired Lee Peterson as our starter. Lee is currently starting races at Rito, and he and I share the same mindset that the safety of our human and equine participants are absolutely our priority. Lee's assistant starters will all be required to wear helmets and vests that are accredited by or certified or approved by the NTRA Safety and Integrity Alliance. And although this is a practice that you see in most race states, we will be the first track in Arizona to require this. And I'm very proud of that, and I hope the other tracks follow suit. Lee and I also feel strongly that schooling horses in the morning is one tool that we can use to try and reduce race day or race afternoon injuries to horses and jockeys. We'll make the starting gate available 4 days a week for schooling, and we are going to strongly encourage horsemen to use that schedule. The more the school, hopefully the safer, or that's one less thing to worry about out on the racetrack. Let's see, our stable area improvements are on schedule, although we've met with an unexpected challenge. You may have heard by now, the fire marshal has decided that he will absolutely not permit any overnight stays in our stable area, which leaves us the question, where do our grooms stay? So we've entered into a contract with the county to lease an event facility that is adjacent to our stable area. It's a very large building. It has a fire suppression sprinkler system, and our contractor is working with the fire marshal to determine what kind of structure within that building we can house the grooms. That building also has some extra restrooms and showers that will augment the restrooms and showers that are in our stable area. So there is a plus to that. And in addition, we have contracted with the county to lease a parking lot just north of that facility that we are going to install electrical and water hookups for trainers' RVs, so they can park their RVs, if there are allotted stalls, park their RVs close to the stable area. So all of that is in the works, and I will keep you updated as we proceed. We will be opening the stable area for horsemen to set up and bed their stalls April 26th. We will allow horses in the stable area April 29th, and the track will be open for training May 2nd. And no one's counting, but 64 days from now, we will run our first race at Arizona Downs. So I appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. County Fairs.
Report.
Rialto, Jay, our representative back there.
Rialto?
Yes.
You got Rito on the list?
Yep.
My name is Zach Taylor, Rito Park Assistant General Manager. We are 5 weeks in, rocking and rolling. We've had a whole lot of safe, formful, and competitive races. The handle is looking good, and we're having a lot of fun. Not much to report other than that. The student program's going great. Everybody's in getting valuable hands-on experience, and it's been exceptionally safe. The equine wellness program has, in my mind, been very successful. And we'll wait until the end of the meet to kind of give all the numbers and statistics on that, but right now it's looking great. So unless anybody has any questions, I'll give that a share.
See you Saturday.
Fantastic. Look forward to it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tucson, Greyhound Park,
Nothing new this month, thank you.
Turf Paradise.
Chairman Gorey, Commissioners, Director Casillas, Vincent Francia, General Manager of Turf Paradise Racecourse. I did want to announce that on Monday, the 18th, Turf will initiate the full inspection of all horses on any given race day's program. We will be able to continue this practice. We feel it has value through the meet until its conclusion in May. But for the next meet, when we open in October, we're going to have to make different arrangements. One of the most obvious is there is an integrity issue when the track itself is handling the inspections. It's really something that needs to be handled by the state so that integrity is ensured. We recently completed the benefit for the Greyhounds. Chairman Gorey, maybe you know the results of that, but the audience was 7,600 people once again that came out and supported the event, and we introduced them to racing, of which racing the handle so far continues healthy. On track and OTB handle. On track is up 3%. It continues to grow. OTB is up 6%. Where we have been down is the out-of-state handle. And I was able to get with our chief financial officer. We were trying to figure out why this was happening with the out-of-state market, because it was tracking positive through the end of December. And the reason being, this brings to bear just how important it is to have healthy horses out on the racetrack racing. When you compare January and February of this year to last year, we raced 159 less horses. And that will cause that kind of problem. For the record, so there's a clarification in the record, since this is a public meeting, a previous speaker mentioned that Turf Paradise did not want to share its OTB system. That statement is not correct. We discussed that idea with Arizona Downs. We weren't able to come to an agreement, which is not the same as not wishing to share. Thank you, Commissioner.
May I respond to that? We did meet with Turf Paradise, and the offer we received from Turf Paradise was Turf Paradise gets to keep 100% of the OTB money generated in the last couple of years, the same figure, and Arizona Downs could have half of the growth. So $100 million, let's say, was in the OTBs last year and the year before. The offer to us was we'll keep 100% of that, Turf Paradise, and we'll take half of anything you grow. So with that kind of an attitude, we couldn't reach an agreement. On the other hand, before Yavapai closed, the entire handle was divided based upon race days. So it was, let's say, 75-25. The offer we received from Turf Paradise was a joke and was not made in good faith. And that is what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, we'll just go with a minute, and this will be it, and I'll have a statement.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Jerry Sims, Turf Paradise. I don't think you want to hear a back and forth about what happened in the negotiation, but I think one of the commissioners can remember that when we sat down with them, with Arizona Downs, their request was they wanted 30% or a third of our OTB revenue. I couldn't understand it. That was the request. And just for clarification also, I'm not going to get into back and forth on this stuff, but I'd like you to know this, that through the years, when I first came into the business, it was automatic that the OTBs in the summer were run by Arizona Downs. Well, in those days, Yavapai. They had them in the summer, and we had them the rest of the year. And I want to preface this by saying I am very supportive of year-round racing and Arizona Downs being successful. The reason I care about it is my horsemen want to go there. That's why it means something to me. They want to go there. They don't have to pay $1 a foot, $1 a mile to ship to some other state. They don't want to do that. They want to stay in state. And I'm going to try very hard tomorrow to see if something can be reached. Some deal can be reached. but I hadn't heard anything thus far. But I want to go back to that explanation. So they used to get the OTBs in the summer.
30 seconds.
And nobody, well, I think you want to hear it. I hate to be done. I want to get these words out. The revenue is shrunk with the expansion of Indian gaming. And now we need $3 million in the summer. $3 million in the summer in order to pay with our purses, or we couldn't run our meet. The income and the amount of dollars bet has dropped significantly, so we have to have that summer to gather that $3 million, or we can't. And before that, let me just back up. Last season, and we will be this season, overpaid, meaning we paid out more money than our purses. The reason I haven't cut that, then in the summer we collect that back. Turf collects back that last year was $600,000. Well, we give out about $10 million in purses. $600,000 is 6%. I don't want to have a purse cut for my horsemen, so I pay it and then get paid back in the summer. There used to be a lot more betting, and we could let them have the OTBs in the summer. We couldn't run our meet without putting first paying back the $600,000 last year, and then having $3 million to go forward in the meet, or we couldn't run the meet. I'm done. I just wanted you to understand.
And just remind everyone, tomorrow I believe there's a meeting. I expect everyone to come to that table ready to negotiate. And
just the invitees. It's not an open meeting.
But yeah, just those that are there. Let's just try to get something done. As Vincent was just mentioning, the Wiener races that were at Turf, and again, thank you for hosting that. And I don't know the numbers of how much money they were raised, but it was just weird after getting towards the end of the races. Some of the Wiener people were starting to argue about that they were racing standards against miniatures, and it's like, we don't need this type of stuff going on. We need to come to some compromise.
Okay, optional industry stakeholders. Moving along.
Yeah. So, do we have Arizona County Racing Association?
No report.
And Arizona Greyhound Association is not here. No. Arizona Quarter Horse Racing Association.
Thank you. My name is Loretta Brazier. I'm the Executive Director for the Arizona Quarter Racing. Thank you for giving me this time I didn't sign up to speak earlier, but to give my opinion of what's of racing in Arizona. I think we have the best state in the world. We have history here that no one else has. And Arizona, the quarter horses especially, we have it's a little different for us. This is our home. We don't want to go anywhere. Most of the quarter horse owners and trainers, they have homes here. They have kids going to school. They don't want to go to Minnesota or anywhere else. And so year-round racing it's just been our whole world. I believe Arizona Downs is doing everything they possibly can. I've been working directly with Ann and the racing secretary here in the last few weeks, trying to put our program together up there. Against all odds, they're going forward. That's not to say anything about Turf Paradise. That's our home. That's 9 months out of the year. That's where we are. Rito, all the history down there. For Mr. Doherty to come, I applaud him for coming and listening to this. It's probably not easy for him. I don't know the politics involved in everything, but I do know that everybody's together in this room right now. And I would wish and hope and pray that they could all come together and realize that we the horsemen, we want year-round racing. We have to have year-round racing. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get... But the other thing I want to say is, we also have the University of Arizona is well known throughout the whole world. And Rito has done a great thing down there. They have partnered with the kids. If you look around this room and you try to figure out the average age of the people that are here and that are worried about our industry, you don't see any kids. You don't see the young people. That is another thing that would be great for summer racing, is to take the internship that has started in Rito and make a summer internship with Arizona Downs. And I think that's been talked about. So there's just so many things to think about. And I hope you all, when you're doing your deliberations, you take all of these things into consideration. And thank you.
Thank you, Loretta.
The Thoroughbred Breeders Association.
Thanks, Debbie. She picks on me anytime I come down. I'm Scott Rollins. I train thoroughbreds. I'm a fourth generation horse trainer. I'm on the board for the ATBA. You know, when we sit around here and we talk about the industry, the thing that we just realized and had just seen over the last few minutes was the industry was here. You know, no offense to racetrack owners. They're only part of that. The industry is the people. I happen to train for one of the biggest breeders in the industry, the Owenses. I also train for a gal named Elena Krim, who's one of the biggest breeders in the industry here in Arizona. Good friends with Marvin Fleming that works in the industry here. They are the lifeblood here in this state. As I see and I watch government and how it works, which sometimes is very disappointing, I realize that your commission as a commission is to protect horse racing in Arizona. The way we protect horse racing in Arizona is make an avenue for these people to make a living. They bring so much commerce into this state. When you think about the feed that is spent, the hay that is grown, the people that come to the races, the gas that is bought, the trailers that are bought and sold out of different trailer sales here in the state. There's a lot of money that comes through this industry. If we don't protect this industry and we don't help a group like Arizona Downs coming into this state that wants to grow the industry, what are we doing?
Please don't touch the mic.
We're not helping ourselves. We're here to help ourselves. We're here to make the industry move forward. The only way that works is if the groups come together, they work together, they support each other, and we move forward as one body. If we don't do that, it's just like it's been said a couple of times. We're cutting our own throats and our industry will go down. And it'll be a sad day in this state we lose horse racing, because there's some of the best people I've ever met are in the industry. Thank you.
HPPA. See, I can see you today now.
Kevin Eckelberg again. I'm sorry you have to listen to me twice, but everybody else in the convention in Florida, so I'm the only one here. So kind of how it is. Scott said everything very, very well. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better deal. And we're going to make this work. We all make it work together. So far, we have racetracks haven't worked together. Not that they haven't tried to. What they don't understand is, with more horses staying in the state, and Ben said it very well, we are down on horses. But if we all work together, we are going to have more horses. And more horses will stay. They won't leave the state. They'll be here. Not only the breeds, but the others. One thing I can say about Turf Paradise, they have done a super job with the racetrack. This has been a winter that I don't think anyone's ever seen before. The racetrack has stayed very safe. We have hurt some horses, but that's probably our own fault on some of these things. It's not Turf Paradise, but the racetrack has been very safe overall. We did have to cancel the last couple of days, but that was the right thing to do. One thing the HPBA really want to do, like the dogs did the other day with the retirement for the dogs, that kind of benefit, we need that for the horses too. We really don't have a program out there right now to help the horsemen. We will be taking this to Turf Paradise, and we hope that we can get more money for the retirement horsemen. Thank you.
Jockeys Guild? Wasn't really hoping with all these people. All right, item C or E, Commission report, summary of current events affecting the Arizona Racing Commission. Do we have anything for this? All right. We have a call to the public. I think everyone had a chance, but there was one, Stacy, who signed up for agenda item F, And I'm not sure if that was for the Jockey Guild or for turf, and I don't know if
That's
she's
called to
here.
the public, and she spoke already.
Oh, she did? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we're done with that. Is there anyone else that wanted to speak? All right. Announcements. The next meeting will be Racing Commission meeting will be tentatively scheduled for 10 a.m. on Thursday, April 11th, 2019, right here in the same room. Although there will possibly be a special meeting between then and now. Otherwise, everyone, have a great month, safe month, and at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Coolidge?
Yes.
Commissioner Garay?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawless?
Yes.
Commissioner McClintock?
Yes.
Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned at 12:13 p.m.